Hello, welcome to the Women in Data Science series of the Shelley Show. This is our 12th episode, and thank you for your love and affection to the series. I'm Shailendra, and you're watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you and all your family are safe. Are you okay? Today is Are You Okay Day. It has been an exceptionally tough year, and let's be honest. And to be honest, well, I think it's really a question to ask, are you okay? And it has got more meaning today in today's day and age, and it's got more punch than usual. Do you agree on that? If you do, please mention that in the comment section. So, are you okay? Every fortnight, we bring to you the leading ladies of data science to this platform and understand their point of view in the data science world. So if you know any leading lady of data science and want everyone to hear from them, then please mention their name in the link in the comment section, and I will try and get them here. Now, if you have a question, please write that question down in the comment section, and I will make sure that I'll take that in the audience Q&A section in the end. Okay, let me not waste any time and quickly bring today's guests to you. My first guest is Abigail Shockley. Abigail, or Abby as we call her, has over a decade of experience in mathematics and scientific problem solving. She has been the first data scientist at several companies working to build out modeling and data infrastructure. With her academic background, she aims to make data science understandable for everyone and encourages storytelling about data projects, which is very important. And if you're watching my shows, that you would see how important storytelling is, and we will ask Abby about how she does that. So without any further ado, let me bring in Abby to the show. Hi Abby, welcome to the Shelley Show. Welcome to the Women in Data Science.
Hi, it's very nice to be here.
Good stuff. And I know you're joining us from Detroit in the US, which is midnight time again?
It's about 1 a.m., so, middle of the night.
Oh, you passed midnight. Okay. So guys, if you're watching Abby, think she's joined us at 1 a.m. So respect and show some thumbs up and likes to the stream. Okay, Abby, give me a minute and I'll get others as well. So my second guest is Sharmistha Chatterjee. Sharmistha is a data science evangelist with 14 years and plus of professional experience in the field of machine learning and cloud application. She has graduated from Aalto University, which was formerly Helsinki University of Technology and Computer Sciences and Engineering. She has proven experience of both AI research and implementing scalable AI solutions for enterprises across various domains, IoT, media, streaming, travel, hospitality, to name a few. So let me bring in Sharmistha. Hi, Sharmistha.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome to the Shelley Show. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good stuff. So, you're joining us from Bangalore, right?
Right.
Good stuff. So give me a second, I'll get the third guest as well. But before I go there, for you to view this episode live and other sessions that are run in Emerging Technologies absolutely live, I would request you to follow me so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. So if you are following me, or if you're watching this on LinkedIn, then press the follow button. If you're watching it on Twitter, press the follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, press the subscribe button and smash the bell icon. Just get that away from the conversation. And finally, we've got Ambika Paranthaman, and I'm sorry for the second name, Ambika, and I'll stick to Ambika so that I don't get it wrong. A multifaceted research professional with over 13 years of experience in advanced analytical reasoning and problem-solving skills. She has proven track of accomplishments in data analysis, opinion mining, business intelligence, project management, etc. At Impact Analytics, where she works now, she deep dives into retail analytics and works with cross-functional teams to handle key products. So let me bring on Ambika. Hi Ambika, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Women in Data Science. How are you doing?
I'm good. Very good morning to and all.
So you're from Bangalore as well. So we've got Ambika from Bangalore and Abby from Detroit. Okay, guys. Do you want to share some story or something to start with, or should I just jump on to my questions?
I don't know. You girls want other questions to get the conversation started?
Okay, let's get to the questions. Let's get to the questions. Okay. So, as you know, and you've seen the shows, we focus on process, skills, and use cases, followed by the audience questions. So let's start with the processes. Now, when I started my career around about 26 years ago, analytics, as it was called, there was nothing called data science. It was very hit and trial. There was no process, a proper process to follow. So, have you guys, when you're doing your day job, do you see any formal process that you've designed or you've seen that people follow a process, or is it still hit and trial? Because there was a statement I used to tell people, give me the data and I'll show you the magic. Do you still do that same, or is that changed over the years? Let's start with Abby.
So where I work now, we love processes. So I've probably written, I've written so many of like how it works, but it's hard when you do data because it's like every data project has some of its own unique questions. So when you write a process, it's like you're trying to make something that's repeatable and you can do the same thing every time and you can just pass it to someone and they can do it. But I always think it doesn't necessarily work like that in data because you never know what you're going to find when you look at stuff, right? So like sometimes I write a process and then you get into it and I'm like, well, that process I wrote is totally junk. I got to throw it away because this isn't what I was expecting to see and do something different. So there's a bit where it like helps to know what you're supposed to do and to have that written out. And then there's a bit where it's good to be inventive and creative and be able to do your own thing.
Okay, so you're still doing that hidden trial as well? It's a mix of hidden trial. Okay. What do you see, Sharmistha?
Yeah, I see it's more of new things coming up, as Avi mentioned, and it's a combination of what are the things that have developed and use the recent data that's available and mix and match with the current trends, or find out something new and read some research papers and then combine it with some existing technologies, existing procedures also. So it's more about investigation. It's everyday job, like in finding out new things.
Okay, so Ambika, what do you see from your perspective?
Personally, having started my own journey in the world of data in 2008, and at that time the field was known back then as data mining. Yeah, much of the emphasis at the time was placed in translating data into knowledge, where another common term that was used to refer data mining is knowledge discovery in data. So over the years, then the field has matured and evolved to encompass other skill sets, and it leads to the eventual coining of term data science, and maybe merely building models and also encompass other skill sets, both technical as well as soft skills nowadays. Maybe I have drawn some of the essential 8 skill sets. Maybe as and when we talk, I can also discuss about those 8 essential skill sets, what we need to focus on in data science.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so from my perspective, what I have seen usually is that if you start from an objective that you're trying to achieve and take it from there, and then then you go in looking for the data that you want and the models that you want to build, and then the output that comes out, and to achieve that achieve that outcome, you need to do that execution. So basically, what I have seen is there is a kind of a process, an overarching process that you do. But when you're doing that, you're also utilizing, as you rightly said, Ambika, data mining techniques or statistical modeling techniques to actually see what all new data sets or what all new components can be added to the process so that you can achieve the outcome quickly and clearly. Do you guys agree with me? Is that something that you guys are doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
go.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I think that's the way you start with scientific problem solving too, right? So if you have a really good business problem defined at the beginning, then you're going to have a lot more luck when you get to the end of like, I got a really good solution and you guys are going to want to use it and selling to your business partners. But I think sometimes the issue that you run into is you start the project and no one's really sure what they want. They just think that we have like a magic wand and we can go, okay, like we're going to solve your business problems. Here's, we're going to make you $100 million because you provided us with data. And that's not quite the way that it works, right? So there's also some education portion too when you're working with your non-technical partners of like, how do we get you guys to understand what the limitations are of what I can do for you based on the data that you can provide.
Anything you want to add, Sharmistha?
Yeah, it's the same, but it's not that we can do unlimited things depending on the limitations of the data and the scope of the project and also the timeline. Yeah, so the first thing you want to show some dashboards and give some prediction. So we cannot build 100 models and plug in into that. So the thing is how much data you give, and the data doesn't come like you see in Kaggle. It's not a CSV. The data is scattered all over. So when it comes to us, it's like you have to get a meaning out of the data. You just have to wrangle the data from all different sources and give some meaning to it before starting the problem. And once we know that this is a large retail or supply chain or this business, then we try to formulate the use cases that what we can add value to business so that it actually translates to some dollars and they are able to get some value out of it.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Ambika, what do you think?
What I think is like after maybe collecting different data sources, we need to deep dive into data to explore further. Using some exploratory data analysis, we'll come to know that how the data is behaving. Maybe after that, the real model start working on. So before modeling, we need to list down the hypothesis, whatever we would like to have in the problem solving. Then depends on the hypothesis, we can still explore the data further. So I feel like pre-processing is more important than modeling. So how the data is behaving, if we come to know, we can still better figure out which model will work on which data.
Okay, that's fine. How important is the business engagement in the entire process? Do you guys involve the business buyers right up front, or do you wait till the end and showcase it to the business? Where do you start? How do you engage with the business? Abby?
So like it hurts me a little bit if you only put the business at the very end, because then they don't have the right. So there's sometimes I've come into a project and I've started doing some, like, I think I've made this mistake before where the business isn't engaged the whole time. And then you get to the end and they're like, well, that's not what we wanted. We would never use it that way. It doesn't fit in with our processes. So like you have to keep them engaged because the business is what's going to know, like if I have a model that's predicting I don't know, like whether a customer is going to come into a store, the business is going to know how you use that. And that's really important to how you build a model, because the business is going to want it in a certain way and it's going to fit in the processes in a certain way. If you don't take that into account right at the beginning, you're going to give them something that they won't use. And I think that's a big problem, right? When we talk about data projects, there's some statistic going around somewhere that says like 85% of data projects never get used. And like you have to ask yourself, is that because the people who are going to use it at the end of the day don't get involved because they think it's too technical for them?
Yep. And there was a comment which was made to me while I was working at a corporate, that they used to say, Shelly, this is all gobbledygook for us. We won't be able to, utilize it. But what we learned, or what I learned during that experience, was that if you bring the business right up front, involved, engaged, then they feel it is my project, not a data project. So there is a difference, if you go to a business and say to them that I found this implement, then the feeling that they get is who are you and what do you want to tell me? What do you know about my business? But if you engage them right up front, I think the chances are that they will know or they will be more involved because they feel that that's my project. What do you think about this, Ambika?
So, if you think about business engagement models, there are a lot of models exist in the market. But then the technical team and the business team would have a different sense about the business. So they need to sit and talk along with the business, and then the technical team would always be having a long-term perspective about how the product is going to be built based on different technologies. Business engagement team totally will have a sense of how to satisfy the clients, whoever comes in. So what I feel is like the requirements of the client need to be clearly explained to the technical team so that the product will be good enough to go ahead with the clients.
Okay. Sharmistha?
Yeah, I think if
Sorry.
from day one, like these are the things that we can give it to you, and how do we give it to you, showing them some screens, like this is how you can consume it and what it makes meaning to you, how, because they won't be understanding what model and what are the features we are using, or what is the amount of accuracy. They don't know or the scientific terms like precision record. So how do we make them understand that this is the false positives, or this is the your model has overestimated certain metrics. So that has to be done in terms of business, quantifying them, like you are analyzing defects in some in your products in IoT, say. So you have to explain them that this could have been, we are more like conservative, and we are also taking that these are could have been defective, but truly we find they are not defective, and that thresholds are close to what we our accepted threshold. So I have to be very, in terms of layman, explain to the business, show dashboards, that so that they can derive the meaning out of it from day one. So that way it gets more engaging between the technical and the business partners.
Okay. So when you go and talk to the business to explain to them, what kind of tools do you use? So do you use PowerPoint and do you make it very dumbed down? And what are the kind of things you do?
Yeah, we use PowerPoint. So there are data analytics tools that gives the visualizations of the dashboards like Tableau. But again, when you take these tableaus and then put it in presentation and everything, there has to be an insight. So seeing a graph, nobody can understand. But you have to, if there is a spike, you have to put a spike like an arrow and show it why there is a spike. What is happening in terms of layman terms? What is the temperature has gone high, or pressure is high? Why is that spike? So that's how we have to explain it to them.
Okay. One more question that comes to mind, and that is around the fact that you guys are in the field doing the work. Anything that you think or you believe is missing, any missing ingredient that in a common that if you had put in the process, more and more projects will be used. What is that missing ingredient in your defined process at your organization? Ambika, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, multifunctional team could be missed out in the data science industry, as I felt, because as a scientist, the scientists need to have multiple skills, not only stats knowledge, not only machine learning. He or she should be thorough in even software development lifecycle as well. Even he should be knowing that how would I just interpret all the results, what I have got it. So multifunctional team would be the one what we visit.
That's a good one. Abby, what do you think?
I think where I am right now, I'm really lucky. A lot of the clients that my company works with, they're just really excited to have people who do data stuff in general, because we work with a lot of people that maybe don't do that part so well. And I think as data starts to become more popular, that's what we're going to see, is there'll be a lot more business people who value what a data person can bring to the table, because it's not that way in every company. And I think that's something that we need to hear, like, from our business partners, is data is valuable, let's make it work for us, and then how do we do that? And I think that makes it easier for everybody who's entering the field too, right?
Sharmistha, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's not only data science. It's about cross-functional teams. And as data scientists, we should not be confined to learn only modeling. So we should expand the horizon and look forward for big data as well as analytics. We should have a full end-to-end solution in our picture, like how do we deploy and how do we make it scalable to other million users. And as well as everything, like we should know QA, how to test machine learning models, and how, when there are problems in production, how do we chip in, how the alerting system works, what are the tools we use. It's Elasticsearch or Kibana or Grafana, Logly, everything we should know. It's not the job of the data scientist to know only model building. You have to know what is big data, what are the softwares available, what is changing, pros and cons, architecture, entirely everything, to be successful, and most importantly, to sell your solution to the clients.
Okay, so so that makes perfect sense from the process perspective. Now let's talk about skills. Now you guys are from different geographies. You guys in Bangalore, a different focus to the world, whereas Abby sitting in Detroit is a different focus to the world and the way you deal with people. What kind of skills do you see in the market when you talk data science? Do you see a lot of people? And one more thing I always make a point of stating is that a lot of people who are not data scientists also call themselves data scientists. So do you see that as well? Just because in my view, data science is extreme. You require a lot of studies, you require a lot of education before you get on to doing data science. You can't be a coder and then decide one day to become a data scientist. I think people do that. So what do you see, Abby? Do you see a lot of people who are coders getting their titles in the US, or is it that the people are seriously data scientists? What do you see?
Yeah, and where I come from, it might be a little bit different, because a lot of the people that I know are people that I got like PhDs with. So it's other people who are physicists. I have some friends who are like mathematicians or biologists. I see those people all the time. I don't see as many developers, and a lot of companies in the US have a pretty strict screening process for like questions about statistics and how do you program in Python. That it's even some stuff where I struggle with those kinds of interviews, just because like a physics background doesn't have that. And so they're really looking for people who, at least from what I've seen, they're not just people who know how to code. They're people who really understand the math at a deep level before you really get through that interview process bar in the US. I don't know how it is in India, though.
Okay, good point. Before I go to the next panelist, can I ask you guys, if you've got a question, please put that in the comment section. We will take that in the Q&A section, which will be the last section of the show. Also, please don't forget to like and share this video so more and more people can learn from these beautiful ladies of data science. Ambika, what do you see when you interview people? Do you see a lot of people who are not data scientists but call themselves data scientists, or do you see a lot of PhDs coming in, a lot of MS coming in? What do you see?
We see essentially 8 skill set whoever comes in as a data scientist into the market. So starting from data pre-processing till the soft skills, we check their software engineering skills, even mathematics, statistics skill, programming knowledge, how far are they updated with the latest programming techniques, and even we check with the data visualization techniques, like are they able to do ED on their own, and then check what the data levels are. And then we keep checking with them the list of models they worked so far on the ML and DL as well. So this is the complete 8 skill set we expect from every data scientist.
Sharmistha, what do you see in terms of skill set?
We see like end to end, but we find mostly here the programmers who have done some courses on data sciences. Many from Andrew NG, Coursera, this type of courses people have done, and they are if they are fairly able to understand what a logistic regression is, rather than see coding a model is very simple. It is like 3 to 4 lines of code. So do they
Yeah.
understand what is happening inside logistic regression? What is the plot of logistic regression? How does it separate two classes? So do they understand the matter? Even if they are not able to write the equations of it, we don't need to write equations every day. So do they get a fairy tale, like how a decision tree is split it up? So do they have the basic understanding of that? And of course, like what is their intuition towards data, how they will do the pre-processing, and how they will structure the models, for how they will look for model accuracy metrics, or how do they explain how the model is behaving? Are they able to explain the model how it's behaving? And more importantly, if they have some knowledge on cloud, that would be just a great to have. It's like everybody is now looking at data science with having experience with cloud, so that these models can be deployed, and it is making it able to make it consumable to end users.
Okay. That's true. When you look at this, well, I one more thing, which is I'm saying it, and I say that a lot of times, but that doesn't mean that's true. What I think is that a true data scientist does not exist, because you expect a person to do data collection, you expect a person to do statistics, and then you expect a person to have soft skills to be able to explain it to people as well. And if I could find all of that in one person, that person would be a rocket scientist. Well, even more than that, because you can't have. Because what I've seen in my life is that if you ask a statistician to extract data, writing simple SQL, he may take a lot of time to do that than an IT guy who would just do that in a few minutes. Whereas if you ask the IT guy to write a piece of code to build a model, they won't know what the output will mean. As you rightly said, Sharmistha, can they explain the confusion matrix? Can they explain how the data is panning out? Can they explain normalization? Can they explain what's going? Why is that output, and what does the output look like? Can they do that? And then if a statistician can explain that, then I had an opportunity where I sent a statistician to talk to the business, and that meeting lasted 5 minutes because he started explaining the components and how accurate the model was and how good it was all about, and the business had no reason why to expect that or why to learn about that. So to your point, that does not exist. So how do you structure your team? Do you look at building a kind of squad where you've got 3 different skill sets, or you try to find everything in one person? Different approach. What do you think?
It's hard to find everyone in one person, right? Like sometimes you look at jobs and you're like, what is this job description? Is this like 10 people that you want? It's just one person, right? But like I think that's everywhere in business, right? Like it takes a team to really do the work, because each person brings their own individual spin on something. So if you have a group, if you can afford it, I guess, if you have a group of 2 or 3 people that each bring some sets of skills, that's where you're looking for management to go, I have I have the storytelling and I have the data collecting who's really strong on my team. But what I'm missing is the people who are good at deploying models. So that's really what I want to look for when I'm going to hire. And I wonder if people are really thinking it through like that when they go to hire someone, or if they're just thinking, I don't know, every time I put this all in one person, why do I have to find more than one, right?
Ambika, what do you see?
Yeah, when we form a data science team, we see to that the multi skills from different people. But then, as a data scientist, maybe as and when he joins into the company, he starts learning even business understanding, data understanding, if he has a knowledge on data prep and modeling evaluation already. So he might slowly learn the business understanding and data understanding a little later. So data science team as such, we'll have multi skilled people into one team.
What do you think, Sharmistha? What do you see? Do you get one person fit all, or do you find different kind of people?
Yeah, we find different kind of people and try to encourage them to upskill them, do certifications, and train themselves so that they are up to speed to live projects, as well as during projects they learn a lot. Apart from data science, they try to get other skills which are needed for a live project, like business understanding and like cloud and explainability, AI explainability. That's how it goes.
Okay. One more thing. A lot of people who are budding data scientists watch this show. So, what do you advise these budding data scientists to focus on? So, someone who's just come out of college and wants to do analytics, data science, what do you advise them? What should they focus on? Should they focus on coding? Should they focus on process? Should they focus on outcome? Should they focus on domain knowledge? What do you advise a budding data scientist who wants to be a data scientist or make a career out of data science? Sharmistha, I will go with you first.
Yeah, so if you are talking claiming yourself as a data scientist, so you should be expert in at least one subject. So data science, you should be an expert. You should be able to know all the models and how it works, the underneath of it, what does it explain. And then on top of that, you can have science skills on big data, cloud, or business. So we cannot ignore, if we are an expert in one subject, that subject we have to know in depth. And on top of it, if you try to build your knowledge on big data, different tools, and how we can leverage that in when we build data science models using Apache Spark or like Kafka, so all these things will add to your profile. So have a knowledge of it. Maybe everything you won't get hands-on to do it, but try to have a knowledge why we choose this versus that, and have an in-depth knowledge and your portfolio on data science. So build a good portfolio on that, contribute to GitHub, write blogs, and that helps to build a complete profile.
Abby, what do you think?
Along that similar line, when you're younger, like you have a chance when you're in school to learn some of the math that goes behind the models, and how do you get a better understanding of what statistics goes in, what math means, like do I do linear algebra, like that kind of stuff when you're doing formal education. And that's going to come up like throughout your career, and then maybe some really basic coding. And then I think the domain knowledge, like that comes later as you start trying to figure out what it is that you like and where you want to be. And once you figure those things out, you can start building that domain knowledge. But it's a lot harder to come in and learn the math once you're already in the business environment. So like start with that when you're in school and then move on to the other things. So how do you tell a story? How do you put the pieces together in a presentation so that it's understandable? And like, how do you not leave people with questions after they end up talking to you, right?
Okay. Ambika, what do you see?
As a data scientist, we are fully responsible for the jobs that maybe 3 domains of skill set we require. One is statistical math reasoning, then business communication leadership, then a set of programming things. So it is quite obvious that enormous amount of data generated daily, so that needs efficient processing as well as analysis too. So in the year of 2020 or further more years, it will not be easy task to do a data scientist as when we accelerating more jobs. And what I see is like both non-technical and technical skills. If I say non-technical skills, it's ability to solve business problems and effective business communication and agility to move with different models. Then even collaboration is also required. And as a technical skill, as Sharmistha told, GitHub, then ready for production, ML, DL, math, even cloud, all these are required knowledge.
So you want one person to do a lot of studies before they get into a job. Is that what you're pushing them to?
At least maybe after their graduation, they start exploring all these as a kind of additional online courses.
Okay. Okay. One question that comes to mind, but before I come to that question, there are more than 25 people watching this show now. Guys, if you've got a question, please mention that in the comment section, and I'll take that in the audience Q&A section of the show. So please don't forget to ask your question. Also, please like and share this episode so more and more people can learn from this particular episode from these three ladies. A question, and this is a bit tricky one. You might have seen, and because this is women in data science, I wanted to ask, have you seen people or men and women working on data science projects? Do you see that there is a difference in their approaches? I.e., do men behave differently to get an outcome done and get that approach, get that particular process approached, or run it quickly, copy paste? I don't know what. That women, or is it the same, or is it all, there's no difference?
It is same nowadays, actually. It is same. Whatever skill set.
Ambika?
Yeah, I feel it is same for both men and women. There is no difference in between. But then, like maybe men are more likely to go ahead with business engagements rather digging into math and start. That's what I feel. But as a girl, maybe I feel like dig into math and start more deeper than business engagements.
What do you think, Sharmistha?
I haven't seen noticeable differences, but it's more like a guy would try to be multitask different things. He will take up multiple things, big data, everything. He will say no, and he will jump into it. And maybe a woman will think twice before jumping into all the things where all the skills where it is needed. And whenever any opening comes for it, she will think twice before putting her name on to that project.
Okay, Abby, what do you think? What do you see?
I mean, I just see it like people's individual personalities. I've worked with women who are more, I want to understand everything before I get in. I've worked with men who are like that too. I've worked with men who hate talking to the business, and I've worked with men who love it. It's the same thing for women. So I don't know if it's as much about gender, or if it's just about, people's own individual preferences that they come in with.
Okay. One question I would like to ask you guys. You've been data scientists in your life, and you've grown through the career, and see your profiles. What are the challenges that you faced that you think worth sharing with the audience so that they can learn from your challenges? And I will start with Sharmistha this time in the opposite alphabetical order.
Yeah, so I have learned a lot from like when the model is deployed in production, the challenges you face. So we cannot help to have a model which takes a lot of time to respond, and it should be very fast, as well as how do we encounter any errors with the model predict. I mean, the model is not able to predict, and the accuracy diminishes or something happens. How quickly your reactive procedures are, how quickly you can deploy another model without impacting business, like without having your downtimes, how quickly you can do that. And most importantly, I have learned also a lot more from Kaggle, like go through, every time you cannot take every problem and solve it. So look through the problems which people have solved, Kaggle experts or Kaggle grandmasters have solved, or take something, at least do it differently. Just don't copy paste it, just do differently, build and yeah. So just think of different libraries what are available, how can you add something new to it, always add a taste in your own way. So whenever whenever you get any data sets, or you try to do any domain problem, say supply chain or retail, so think that what is missing. If you're reading 10 articles, what is missing? So small insight can be in terms of a paragraph, put it in LinkedIn or share in your blog. So a little insight will help increase your knowledge as well as giving you visibility that you know something of a data science.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ambika?
I had challenges on collecting real-time data when I was a researcher, because we get a primary data, we usually work on secondary data. That was my problem when I started my research. And then later on, nowadays, I feel a little challenge on optimizing the code, because we need to optimize it so that the processor and the other resources, whatever we use, will be minimized. So these two challenges what I had faced: optimization and primary data.
Mm-hmm. Abby?
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at, there's a comment that came up about how data scientists should just know everything. That's too much. And that's a good point, right? Like, I think when you come in, one of the challenges that you start with is that people really do expect you to have a magic wand, and you really have to learn very quickly how do you get into a data environment and set the expectations. Like, here's what's possible with this state of data, and then here's what we can do with the business today. And then what you're probably going to hear back is, how do we do more? How do we find more things? Because that's what I hear from the business partners is like, if you can't do it, then how do you make it happen? Find us more stuff. And so that's like one thing as you come in and as you grow into your career, as you start, like, how do you push back about what are the limitations of what data science can do for you?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Guys, all those who are watching this episode live or replay, can you mention that in the comment section to say whether you're watching this live or are you watching this on a replay on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook? So please mention live or replay, and yeah, that'll be helpful. Okay, next question to you guys is around women in data science, and that is what I struggle with well on a daily basis, because this show comes every fortnight, and I have to find out those women in data science are doing some brilliant job. Why are there so less women in data science? And you could turn around and say that's in every part of the business and every kind of business. But anything that you see, any reason why there are so less women in data science at the leadership level as well? Who wants to go? Abby, just tell you.
Well, at the leadership level, just the way that the field has been evolving, it's probably like the same thing as software and other mathematics fields. Like, I know, like, I have a PhD in physics. I know when I was there, I had people who looked at me and they're like, "You're a girl. Why are you here? Like, standards must be lower for girls. Like, they just lowered their standards, so you're not as good as us." And so some of that, it's not always, people don't always say that as upfront to you, but there's a lot of implicit biases, I think, that come in and say, like, women aren't going to be as good at math as men. And then there's a combination of, like, you see it earlier in school that hits women early on, and creates a much larger funnel so that women who may have been interested in math as children, maybe they decide it's not for them because it just doesn't feel like a welcoming area, especially if you have a lot of people coming up to you and saying that it's not for you because of, who you are as a person, like something you can't change about yourself, right? And then that has effects later on as you get further in your career. There are fewer people, and if people are still carrying those implicit biases, like, is it that there's a funnel? Is it that businesses prefer to work with men? Is it just that there aren't enough women? I think that's a big question to ask, and I don't know that there's really a good answer to it. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ambika?
I feel no, there are still junior level data scientists exist as women. Maybe down the line, 10 years later or 15 years later, you can see a lot of women leaders in data science because now it's been improved. Maybe earlier it was like only less number of people as a women data science leaders. But then now I see a lot of junior folks came into the industry. So we see a lot of leaders in future.
Sharmistha?
Yeah, I also think the same. The number of juniors are increasing, and maybe data science is a relatively new field. And because of our time when we started, that time women were less in technical roles, or not at that. I don't want to say less, but maybe not at comparison to male percentages of males. That's why we see less. And if we keep on encouraging women to be like multitasking and be a more aggressive and help them to give more opportunities, I think there will be more women leaders. So it is now the task of existing male and women leadership to encourage and help more women to come into this domain and contribute as much possible.
I must say one thing, that at SAP we've got now a target to meet is 50-50, and we've got what 35% women in SAP now, which is quite no, it's 25%. We're aiming to 35%. Sorry, so that is going to happen as we go. So yeah, we're promoting a lot of women. So gender equality is happening at SAP at least. So good. Okay. Thank you for that. Guys, if you've got any questions watching this, please in the comment section. I'll take that up. Very quickly, the last section, or where I ask questions and then there will be audience questions, is around success stories. So I always say, and Ambika, you mentioned about data mining, and I'd say that data mining is popular because of the nappies and the beer story. There is one story that makes that particular function or that particular industry really popular. Now, any use case or any success story that you think or you've seen, whether you were involved on it or not, doesn't matter. If you were involved, even better. Share it with the audience. It could make a huge difference to the data science industry. Any one use case, or even two use cases, doesn't matter. So if you've got a use case to share, please share it now. And I'll start with Sharmistha.
Yeah. So use case wise, I had worked on one large telecom project, so which went live. And as I said that before that I was having data science skills, data wrangling, data pre-processing skills. So when I worked on that live project, and the project was working with cross teams, like with the big data engineers and analytics person as well as QA, I got to know how the entire life cycle of a machine learning project works. So I came from software development, so I had a knowledge of how software development works, what are the sprints, and how it goes executed, and end to end how it works. But for a machine learning, that was way back in 2000, say 2013 time. So learning that how a machine learning model life cycle is has created much more opportunities after in the future. So even day one, we may not get some opportunities to work in an end-to-end live project. But I would means I would advise people to like talk with people, make networks with the other people from who are related to your domain, not only confining yourself to data scientists, but big data and other related technologies. We are talking about business, who are the storytelling, who is ultimately conveying the message of your data science to business. So I learned a lot that it's not only about prediction, but how you make the prediction interpretable, and how does the prediction gets translated to business in terms of dollars. So that's what my learning is. And when you get to know with people who are working related closely to cross functional teams, talk with them, what are the technologies they are using, you increase your knowledge.
So, what was the kind of benefits that you achieved from that particular project?
Yeah, so we try to detect the network congestion. Like the network is at times it gets overutilized because people in mobile we try to stream a lot of things at peak hours of the day, right? So our task was to have to determine the congestion beforehand, and so that we can use control measures, or the telecom operator can use proper measures to do a proper planning. Like this time it is going to increase capacity at this network or this cells, then how do we can do a proper planning, or how do we use proper throttling measures to over excessive users? So that's based on the operator side.
Okay,
So
Abby,
it will yeah.
sorry, go. Wait. Sharmistha, you completed? Sorry.
Yeah, I completed. I just want to say then it is also a matter of like how volume of data. So I also learned from terabytes of data coming each day. So how do you manage that amount of data coming each day when you feed it to your model?
Abby?
So I work in the marketing field right now, and one of the big challenges we have is how do you figure out, I don't know, enough personal information about someone so that you can build out like how to target them with marketing so that you're not hitting them and saying like, hey, see everything. You're saying, let's show you the product that we really think that you want. And then if we do that, you're going to come in and be more likely to purchase it and think well of us as like a brand. So it's a lot of like, how do you find, first of all, like either demographic data or first-party data about customers, and then put that into some sort of a profile. So can you build out a segmentation? Is it a clustering? Is clustering going to work? Or do you have to do something that's a little bit more like an automated process to figure out? So when you're going to look at your customers, you have these segments of, I know people who look like this. So, people who make this much money and love dogs and are this age are really likely to come in and buy a lamp from us. So how do we figure that out so that we can send people like, this is the lamp that you want, click on it and come into our website and buy it. And that, I think that's a pretty challenging area to be in, because you just don't have a whole lot of signals from what you get with your marketing campaigns.
So when you're talking about that, you're talking about where you do not have any information about the customer. You've got a website information possibly, or Google information?
Yeah, you might start with like an email or an address for someone, and then that's all that they know. Like they have an email and an address, and they came to our store and they bought, they bought this lamp on X date, and maybe they bought 2 or 3 of them, but maybe they only bought one. So how do you figure out all that other stuff? Because when you go in to build a marketing campaign, so if you're using something like Facebook Analytics or Google, like when you go in to do that, you can select all kinds of stuff about people. It's like probably crazy the amount of stuff that Facebook knows about us. But you can select all kinds of things. Like I want people who love dogs and who like going outdoors and enjoy yoga. And I think those are going to be my lamp buyers. But how do you find that information out beforehand? So there's a lot of like working with data vendors so that you'll find that people know more about you too than you probably thought that they did. But I think when you get into how you build out those marketing things, it's not like a marketer is deciding like, I know everything about you as an individual person. It's, I know that there's this group of like 500 people that look like this, that all have similar interests. And then I want to send them all this message because I've seen that it works really well. And that's something where data scientists can come in and start helping you measure like what messages work well and what messages don't, so that you can double down on those strategies so people aren't getting blasted by ads that they're never really going to interact with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any benefits that you've seen in the past and which have really helped the organizations?
Yeah, so when you start targeting your campaign, so when you start actually like measuring stuff, you can get your return on investment like a lot higher. So they call it return on ad spend in the marketing industry. So it's like, if I pay this much to put out marketing to people, how many people are actually coming to my website and clicking? So you can go from having like your return on ad spend being 2 times to being 2 to being like 25 once you start having a data person saying, market here, look at these YouTube channels, not at those YouTube channels, look at people who look like this, not people who look like that. You can really get your return to be significantly higher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Ambika, any use case you want to share?
Yeah, the one use case where I'm involved in completely is a generic promo model for any retailer who need to align their business objective and synthesizes their decisions according to the different KPIs. And this promo model, what it does is it's a kind of analytic product where it does the job of end-to-end promotions and its complete management. And what this portal do is like it helps any retailer to create and enable the complete business plan and manage as well as execute their promotions in an efficient manner. So this use case I'm completely involved in. And the kind of work what I do is creating a generic model for which fit in any retailer who comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And after modeling the kind of error analysis to improve the models and to improve the key kind of promotions as well.
Okay. Any benefits that you've seen in delivering that kind of a project?
Yeah, as a intelligent assistant, this tool gives all the relevant information and kind of time reducing task in decision making, as well as it's extremely fast. So it's a product.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's good. Okay. That is very, very good. Thank you for that. Let me get to the audience questions. There are quite a few questions to run through, I could see. So let's start with the questions. Okay. So that's the audience question to start with. The first comment is from Aritra Roy. Is good morning. Hi Aritra, good morning. And good evening to I think you're hearing 2 in the morning. Abdul Najib says it's past midnight here. Hi, Abdul. And he's here for Abigail. Okay. Abdul, thank you for joining us at such an hour. Next, Cody Middlebrook says, as a filmmaker and businessman, storytelling is the most important thing when selling a product. And that applies to data science as well. So guys, anyone wants to share their thoughts on this?
It's one of the big skills that you learn and have to bring to the table, because like part of storytelling, right? How do you build out characters and how do you build out a plot that people are going to care about, but it's business. So like it's not always clear like what those characters are, what the plot is, like what people care about. And like it's always really hard when you're on the technical side of the table to try to figure out like what the business cares about. So that's a lot of like work that you need to do when you start at any new company. How do you learn about what their business is and what works and what's important to them, so that you can start telling those stories back.
Ambika?
Yeah, it's an important skill for anybody who works in data science, because all what we get out of models are just numbers. So translating or interpreting those numbers into client requires a lot of storytelling knowledge actually. As Sharmistha told, like even confusion metrics, out of which how do we develop the cost metric, which is quite important for any client, is also involved in storytelling as well. So storytelling is an important or a key role.
And
Okay.
I can say one thing, like you can just browse to Coursera. There are important storytelling courses, and that would help you to understand how exactly we should tell stories or data science specific stories.
Mhm. Okay. Next comment is again from Cody Middlebrook saying Q&A. I don't know what that means, but yeah, that is important. And we're running through Q&A. Naveen Kumar R, and this is the question for you, Abigail. Abhi, you. How relevant do you think an MS in computer science is going to be helpful in becoming a good data science and an ML engineer?
Yeah, so I talk with people about this a lot, and like somewhat it's how do you learn skills in a more traditional way. So that would be getting a master's or maybe even getting a PhD. And how do you learn skills on the job, right? So if you were coming in without a master's, I think you could probably still learn some of the things that you would need to do your job well. It would just be more challenging. And I think as you get to the later stages in your career, it's where you start hitting into like people having those roadblocks. So that's like, if you're going to be a staff data scientist, if you're going to be a manager, there are going to be a lot of companies who insist, like, I need at least a master's for that, even if you have the same experience with the same skill levels as, as someone who doesn't have a master's or someone who does. So it's a personal decision there, but I would say without a master's, you're going to find things a little bit more challenging the further you get in your career.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There is a question for Ambika, and that's from Naveen again. Naveen is asking very pointed questions. Thank you, Naveen. What pointers would you suggest as starting points for people who would want to get started in data science and analytics world? Ambika.
Yeah, for engineers who get graduated out of college or any university, they should be strong enough to write their own algorithms, and then they need to be strong in math and stat skills. Maybe they can make use of all the online portals to learn a set of models, what's available. Then when they get into industry, they keep understanding business and data as well.
Okay. Hopefully, Naveen, you've got your questions answered from both Abigail and Ambika. Poonam Sood says, hi all. Hi Poonam, how are you? Poonam Sood says, which data visualization tool is more in demand?
Tableau.
Okay, so there's Tableau.
Oh, really? There's been a big switch to Power BI in the States that now that Microsoft has their tool coming out.
And I can say that there is SAP's Analytics Cloud, which is actually doing very well because just because, of course, I work for SAP, so I got to say that, but not because I work for SAP. I say that. I say that because the SAP SSE, which is what we call, has machine learning built into it. So basically, it not only helps creating a dashboard, it helps creating a dashboard that is smart. So you can have so for things like and this is something I learned after joining SAP was that SSC has the ability. So if you drop a graph onto a particular data set, it actually picks the best graph that should represent a particular data set. You don't have to actually figure out whether it should be a bar graph or a pie chart or whatever it is. It will actually intelligently pick up the best graph. That was one of the things that was very interesting for me because we always struggle whether to pick a pie or something else, which is more appealing. And apart from that, I don't want to run on SSC, but it has got some interesting features as well. I hope, Poonam, that answers the question. Sorry to get on to SSC discussion. Next question from Meenakshi. He says, hi, I'm Meenakshi Tyagi and interested to do that course of data science with SAP. Kindly provide me with a brief description of the same for career development and opportunities. Right, Meenakshi, that should be outside. Please get back to me directly and I will definitely respond back with the details. There is OpenSAP where you've got a lot of courses. And guys, whosoever watching, there are data science courses in OpenSAP as well. Have a look. I think it's opensap.com. Poonam Sood says, basically data scientists should know everything. That's too much. Now that's a very good point. Who wants to answer that? Ambika, you've asked for everything. What do you think?
As a beginner, we require only three things, I feel. One is maybe math, stat, and algos. That's more important.
Okay. So
Maybe
Poonam,
if they get into industry, they can learn everything, other things like business engagement, business development, software engineering, optimization, everything they could learn after getting in industry.
okay. A question for you, Ambika. Where do you think they will have data pulling skills if they don't know how to write SQL or write code to extract data?
Extracting data nowadays, even Kaggle and a lot of other data sources are available. KDD Nuggets is also one good source where you get a lot of open source data. UCI library where there are a lot of open source data available right now. So it where even primary data is available in these three websites.
Okay. Abigail, you want to add to that?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can learn on the job. I was just talking with somebody on a post the other day, Charles Thomas, he's at Microsoft now, but he said like what he thinks is really important is for people who come in as data scientists to have, he phrased it, I think, learning agility. So you have the ability to learn new things really quickly. So you don't come in knowing everything, but you know how to learn what you need to know and you know how to do that fast.
Okay. Poonam says, I mean, every technology available in market, is that fair? So you want people to learn every technology in the market? How's that fair?
No, right. It's so overwhelming because there's so many things where it's like, well, do I need to know Oz or do I need to know Google Cloud or do I need to know do I need to know SAP? Do I need to know Power BI? Do I need to know Tableau? How do I even become an expert at all of those things, right? So like you have to learn and like you get better as you go on. Like how do I pick and choose what tools are best for me? And then you pick a tool, and then eventually you're gonna have to learn a new one because that tool is gonna not be the tool of choice anymore, right? That always happens. But pick what you think you need for now, and a lot of it is constrained by what job you end up being in as well. So if you work at a company that has their own cloud, like good luck getting your experience on Google Cloud because all the work that you're doing isn't there. Yeah, so that's something that you grow into it as you switch between jobs. So it's good to keep an eye on what technologies are up and coming and try to learn about them. But like, I don't know that everywhere expects you to know everything. It's just hard to figure out what specific things a job is going to want you to know.
Okay. Okay.
Rather mastering everything.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I have a simple answer for that. Rather mastering everything, at least we should know what all technologies are available in the market and open mind to learn everything, maybe.
Very well said. Having said that, I also have a video on my YouTube channel that talks about what to focus on if you're a budding data scientist or you want to become a data scientist. What are the key things that you can do? So if you guys ever have a minute, it's just 4 minutes of a video. Have a look at that video. We'll get you some more ideas. It's all about ideas, as they say. Okay. Poonam says, and this is, and I want you to take that comment definitely to get your point of view. Says, I don't think there is no men versus women. They have same skills and capabilities. Only difference is women are paid very less compared to their counterparts. That's very disappointing. What do you think, girls?
Um, it's not about less paid. Maybe how do you negotiate with your HR is what I feel.
Sharmistha, what do you think?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. So yeah, how never underestimate yourself and sell your skills well. So you should be very much able to showcase that what skills you bring to the table and how you are unique. That what's the value you are going to add, how you're unique, and should have quantifiable mechanisms of justifying that. And then it's on your negotiation skills how much you can negotiate
What
with
do you
that
think,
offer.
Abby?
You know, there have been some like sociologists that have tried to study this, and I don't like this may be controversial, but I've seen like papers where they've gone in and they've said, you know, men are a lot more likely to raise their hands when they have a lower level of experience to say, no, I'm great, like, put me on the job. And women are maybe a little bit more likely to be like, oh, I need like 10 things, I only have 9. I don't know that I can do that. So like it's a self-confidence thing, right? So how confident are you in yourself, and how are you putting yourself forward for the next steps up in your career? Because that's where like money comes with, you know, building skills and then being able to promote yourself and market yourself. And then you have to look at like, is there more of a tax on women for doing that than there is for men, for women being self-promoting than there is for men? And maybe that's true. Maybe it's not, but is that where you see it? And so like we have the other women here saying like, get better at marketing yourself. And I think that's a really key skill that all professionals need to have regardless of gender.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Next comment is from Chirag Vyas. He said, good morning, Shailen sir, and entire team of experts. Good morning. Good morning. And it's very early morning for Abby, though. Good morning, Abby. Chirag saying, gratitude to all experts. Okay. Another question. Sambal Nakwi. Hello, Shailendra. Thank you for your initiative. Nice listening to team. Thank you, Sambal. Thank you very much. Thank you for the comment. Okay. There is someone who's I don't think is connected to me, but has mentioned a message saying, how can being a data scientist, you can have more business sense in analyzing data? How can you understand that the insights gained from data is the value of the business or not, specifically when you do not have experience in particular domain or field? Who wants to go?
It's challenging as a newcomer if you haven't had a job yet, because there's just so many things that you learn that go on behind the scenes once you're working, where you start getting that. But like a little bit of business sense, is it business sense? Sometimes I look at stuff and I'm like, is that more like common sense? Some things you can read about. So if you go in, if you're working for a publicly traded company, for instance, or you want to get in for a publicly traded company, they have to make public, like they make presentations once a quarter that tells you like, here's what we think is important as a business to us. And it's probably a pretty good exercise if there's an area that you want to get into. Well, and this is US specific. I guess I don't know how they do this in other places, but if you're in the US, like go in and start reading through some of those presentations, start looking up like some popular companies that you might be interested in. So like retail, like you can look up the Gap and you can read how they're reporting out like what their financial results are, but they also talk about like what's important to their company, what investors should be looking for them to try to do. And you can read through there are websites that have the transcripts of what investors are asking businesses and what investors care about, and see how businesses are thinking through those challenges. So how do we come up, like in the era of COVID, like how do we make different decisions about what we're doing as a business? And you can learn a lot just by doing some of that type of reading for what's important for different business areas.
Anyone else wants to add to that?
She muted.
When a junior data scientist join into a company, our analytic firm has a separate wing called learning and development, where we give a lot of sessions on how the business is running. So out of that learning and development, they could get the business sense and how the data are playing and how the insights are gained out of those retail data, specifically when those do not have experience in a particular domain. We train them actually.
I
Sharmistha?
think, yeah, I think you can, if you don't have knowledge, don't get scared or anything, but be open to learn. That's the main attitude you should have. And just when you join the project, there will be a lot of scope to learn about the related domain. Read about articles, read about papers, and I think that will surely help to gain knowledge on that domain. It will come through automatically. If you have the right mind, I think you will get it.
Okay. Now I'll give you a little tip there from my experience. I've looked at multiple industries in life as a data scientist or building models. I always tell people, think like a customer. If you start thinking like a customer and want to be in that particular situation and the outcome that you want yourself to get delivered, you are an expert in that particular domain. And that's a very simple example. If you're a retailer, if you go to a retail, if you're working for a retailer for the first time, and you go to a retail shop, you need to think how you want to be treated, and that will give you that domain knowledge in no time. If you start thinking like that, if you go to a telco, think and start thinking of how a telco works or how a financial services organization works. If you start thinking like that, you will be having that domain knowledge even before you get into start building models. Of course, domain knowledge will come when you're working in that particular industry, but to get in there, you need to start thinking like a customer for that particular industry you're working in. And I think that will make a huge difference to what and will take you far more places than others who are actually trying to get into the same industry and giving a data science, because I always thought that I was a customer, which is what, and if you look at that, then it will be the transaction. And if you look at a customer, and if you look at the transactions, every business is a customer and its transaction. Whether it is a retailer person goes and buys something, and that is a transaction. At a financial services, you take out money from an ATM, that's a transaction. A telco, you make a phone call, that's a transaction. And if you think all of these are like that, you're an expert in that industry before even getting there. So I think you should think like a customer and see how you actually behave. How would you want to be behaved, to be treated as? It will make a huge difference. Just my point, my 2 cents. I don't know how valuable that will be. It was very valuable to me when I thought like that. Anyways, next question. Sambul Lakwi says, please share the link of your video you're talking about in YouTube. Okay, that's there. I've just mentioned that. Please have a look. Poonam Sood says, thank you for all replies. Nice discussion going on. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you very much. I appreciate that you liked it. And, oh, there are a few more questions. Thank you for the response. The last question was from me, Kulbir Dhami. I am not sure why it shows the LinkedIn user as I'm connected to Shredder. I don't know why either. I did. So that question was from Kulbir. Kulbir, thank you for your question. Hopefully you got the answer. Thank you. Next is from Pradnya Kokil. And Pradnya, hi Pradnya, how are you? You've got a tongue twister of a name. I thought mine was. This is another one. Doing only training didn't help at times, as you mostly couldn't get hands-on, and after few months, you all will slate. So how will you knowledge? And I'm telling you, please watch that video that I created, because this is exactly what I explained in that video, how you can actually get experience without working in an organization. And I also say that data scientists is the community which will not be looking for a job very soon, but will be providing jobs. because everything is available. Everything is there. And I say that in every show. When I started my career, a SaaS pod was $250,000. Not even thousand. It was not $2,500. $250,000. We couldn't get access to SaaS or anything. Today, AWS is $25 a month, something that ridiculously low. So basically, you have the technology available to you for free, and you can practice. But anyways, have a look at that video. Thank you. Your views, please. We just, guys, anyone else? Sorry, they want to hear from the experts. So, girls, what do you think? Ari.
Well, that's a. Do you need domain knowledge? Do you need to know how to execute something if you're a fresher and you're just starting a new job? I don't know if that's really the expectation, right? So you can start, like, get some experience, like, trying to go through some of your own projects. And then once you join a company, like, hopefully they're not treating you like a candidate that has like 6 or 7 years experience, and they're willing to let you learn a little bit. And I think some of the other ladies have been talking about how their companies are really good at that. When you bring in your data scientists, helping to train them up so that they can start contributing at a higher level later on.
Mm-hmm. Ambika, you want to add something?
Yeah. I had a personal experience when I was doing a social network analysis with some Twitter data. So I had faced a lot of issues. I got stuck in between. At that time, I didn't know how to use GitHub even. And then I usually tweet and get answers from different community. I have joined a lot of data science community online, and then I got help from so many people. That way, I did hands-on. So maybe the same practice would also help others too. You can make use of GitHub. Now there are a lot of platforms which is open to everyone. We get a lot of community help.
Mm-hmm. Sharmistha?
Yeah, I also learned hard way, right? So I was transitioning to from my current role to more on data science. So I started contributing on pulling out random data sets and building my own models. And I also started doing Twitter sentiment analysis for elections. So picking up the right kind of analysis, what you are going to do based on the time. So pick up unique problems, and if you're getting stuck, I think people are there. Stack Overflow, Kaggle, or anywhere. You post on even LinkedIn. You can post for help. I think people are there to help if they have faced similar kind of problem, or you will come out with necessary suggestions. Even I see people post me in LinkedIn messaging. I am stuck with this. How do you help me? Can you give some pointers? So I think the world is still nice enough. So people will help you if you get stuck.
Okay. I must say one thing. I'll give you a very simple exercise to do on lots of social media information about Sushant Singh Rajput. Sorry, Abigail. Lots of that has been talked about. Possibly, it might be a good idea to extract that information from social media and see what people are saying, what is going on. Maybe a good learning thing to do. Possibly, I don't know. Just think of a social idea and try and find out how to solve the problem. That way, you will get your hands-on experience. Anyways, let's move on today. Pratnya is encouraging, so thank you, Pratnya, with thumbs up. And she says, let's hope, as having 10 plus years of experience now, so of course, thank you very much, and I hope for you as well. There is one more question from Prasad Nage, and that's the final question I'll take. And I know I'll be now going to be 2:30 in the morning. Prasad Nage, hi Prasad. Why this is so difficult for freshers to getting an opportunity? Who wants to take that?
Well, if we're talking about right now, I think it's a challenging environment for everyone right now to look for new opportunities, just because like so many people have faced economic challenges. So you see there are a lot more people that have more experience in the market, like lost their jobs with the with COVID and stuff like that. So it creates a lot more competition, and companies maybe aren't as willing to open up because it's unclear what the economic environment is going to be like. I don't know that the job market is this bad at other times as it is like currently.
Okay.
Even job market is not open now. What as a fresher you can do is like you can take up some open competitions from Kaggle and keep updating yourself. Even those Kaggle points maybe show us like you have some experience on the projects what you have done, and you can learn something out of it. So you can add up those projects into your CV as well.
Mhm. Okay, Sharmistha?
Yeah, as Ambika said, utilize the time. So you won't get this time if you're busy in a project. So keep building your portfolio and your personal brand with marketing, so that when a situation won't be like this every time. So when at the right opportunity, you don't miss out any interviews and you are able to grab the opportunity at the earliest.
Good stuff. Okay, that was the final question. Guys, before you go, I want to pose one question to you guys, and that is any one phrase or any one comment you want to leave for the audience? Anything you want to say to the audience around data science, women in data science? Try to summarize it in as short a phrase or sentence as possible, so maybe I can use it in the future. Go for it, Sharmistha.
Yeah, just have the right attitude, keep learning, and never lose hope if you are facing rejections, or like keep learning, have the right attitude.
Good stuff. Ambika?
Yeah, journey as a data scientist, it's definitely going to be pretty long. So, as a working professional, maybe it's very difficult to devote time to learn something new, right? So, maybe it's always recommend to go for online training.
Mhm. Abby?
Say, what I'm hearing is data is the new oil. So this is a really good place to be in your career right now if you're thinking about starting to become a data scientist, because it's really, we're in the age of people realizing to be competitive, they have to have someone who understands data on their team. And that's really where you want to be.
Okay. Oh. There is a very technical question I've just seen. I don't know whether you want to take that, but I'll put that on there. If you've got anyone wants to take that, I'll open it. It's from Prapul Palli, and he says, "What are the feature selection methods used to select the right variables?" It's a very technical question. Um, maybe not at this hour, Abby. But I think I'll just pose the question for the sake of it. If anyone wants to get a direct answer, please reach out to one of the three ladies and get that answer from them, or possibly send it to me. I will answer. But it's been too late. But I just put the question anyway. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure having you on the show. And especially you. It's 2:30 in the morning. I am really, really happy to have all three of you on the show. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks
bye,
for being
nice to meet
Sharmistha,
you.
Shailendra. Bye.
Bye. So, guys, that was Abby, Ambika, and Sharmistha from two different parts of the world. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you liked the questions that I posed to them and the questions that the audience posed to them. If you know someone who you think should be on this show, then please mention their name in the comment section, wherever you are, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Please mention the name, and I will try and reach out to them and get them on the show. I want to get as many women in data science on this show as we go forward. So please, if you know someone, please mention their name. I'll get them here. Also, please like this episode, like and share this episode so more and more people can learn from Abby, Ambika, and Sharmistha. And before I go, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, please follow me so that you get notified when the next live is on. If you're watching me on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so when I upload a video or when I go live, you get notified. And if you're watching me on Twitter, follow me. And if you're watching on Facebook, like and subscribe. Like is what you do on Facebook, isn't it? Okay. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And it was a pleasure having you on the show. To the audience, it was good audience. I think it was at all times we had around about 30 people watching. So thank you very much. And thank you for all the love and affection. I'll see you soon. I think I'll be back on Tuesday with another show. So till then, bye and take care.